Good evening, you're watching the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. First, the headlines. As a result of the trough of low-pressure system, the Niaba of Ras Al Had witnessed rough seas and high waves, and a number of the Sultanate's other areas experienced decline in temperatures. The United States imposes new sanctions on Iran, and Iran reacts by holding military exercises. The US-backed Kurdish and Arab fighters announce a new phase in their fight against the Daesh group in Syria. Those are the headlines, and now for the news in detail. Strong winds led to the entry of seawater to some areas in the Niaba of Ras Al Had in the Wilaya of Sur, causing power outages and damage in houses and some properties. Strong winds will be in the most of the Sultanate's governorates as a result of the effects of the trough of low-pressure system, accompanied by scattered rains. These are scenes from the entry of seawater to some houses in the Niaba of Ras Al Had in the governorate of South Sharqiya. The decline in temperatures in some governorates of the Sultanate led to the formation of frost and frozen ponds. Al-Jabal al-Akhtar in the Wilaya of Nizwa, Jebel Shams in the Wilaya of Hamra, Jebel al-Kur in the Wilaya of Bala, and Jebel al-Surat in the Wilaya of Ibri has witnessed freezing of water in dams and ponds. The following are scenes from the peak of Jebel al-Akhtar during the early hours of this morning, recorded by Ali al-Busaidi from the news team in the governorate of Dakhliya. With the participation of more than 35 teams, Environment Preservation Office at the D1 of Royal Courts organized an open awareness campaign to clean Al Kuwair Nature Reserve in the Wilaya of Baushar. The event was held in cooperation with some voluntary work teams in the Sultanate. The initiative came to establish community partnerships with all civil society organizations in the field of environment protection and spread awareness among all segments of the society on the importance to protect the surrounding environment and the wildlife. In addition to cleaning works, the campaign also included building water pools for birds and other animals and planting a number of trees. As part of its operation and expansion plans, Oman Air announced that it has received recently a new Boeing 737-800 aircraft to be added to its air fleet. It will be operated for short and medium distance routes. It also expected to have two new 737-800 and 707-9 aircrafts during the current year. More than 14,000 commercial and industrial transactions were electronically registered through Invest Easy in the governorate of Dhofar during the period from January till the end of December last year. The Ministry of Commerce and Industry pointed out that the tendency by investors, businessmen and small and medium enterprise owners to e-services contributed to the rise of accomplished transactions. Muscat security market witnessed an uneven performance during January as the main index of the market recorded slight losses. It closed its trading in January at 5,776 points. The value of local purchases at Muscat security market amounted to 68 million Omani rials. Purchases by local funds and investment companies acquired 56.8% of total trading. Still to come in a news bulletin. A French farmer got arrested for a couple of times helping migrants to cross the border to other EU countries.
The newly formed Middle East Cystic Fibrosis Association concluded its first conference in the region held.
Welcome back to the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. The first Middle East Cystic Fibrosis CFAC conference organized by the Middle East Cystic Fibrosis Association in collaboration with the College of Medicine and Health Science at Sultan Qaboos University and Oman Respiratory Society was concluded today. More details in the following report by Abdullah bin Ahmed Al-Rubai.
The newly formed Middle East Cystic Fibrosis Association concluded its first conference in the region held in Muscat in the presence of 150 delegates from various parts of the world, all of whom have come together to share their knowledge that is expected to boost the quality of care and education among clinicians, allied health professions, nurses, patients and families.
I'm a pediatric pulmonologist and I work in Belgium. I'm the president of the European Cystic Fibrosis Society. I'm very excited to be here with Professor Al-Kindi and be here at the occasion of the first annual Middle East Cystic Fibrosis Conference. I think this gathering of doctors in the Middle East is extremely important. The old idea that cystic fibrosis is typical for Caucasians is entirely wrong. It occurs in every country. And specifically in Oman, the prevalence is about the same as in several of our European countries. Now, to improve the care for patients with cystic fibrosis, a lot of work needs to be done, and certainly this conference is a big step in that direction.
Very excited to have a lot of experts from Europe, America, and also from the region. And I hope this will give us the boost to go further to improve the care of our patient. That's why we are here together.
The 3 days of scientific sessions led by international guest speakers together with their counterpart in the GCC and leading figures from the USA, Egypt, Belgium, Holland, China, Germany, Turkey, Palestine, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Qatar, United Arab Emirates, Iran, Jordan and Oman, all of whom have intensively discussed the current management of cystic fibrosis, steps forward for future and collaboration required at national and international level.
The conference itself is a very well organized conference. It's right in time to raise the awareness around this disease that's unfortunately is underdiagnosed in our region. I think that prevalence of cystic fibrosis in this part of the world is much higher than what we see in the different hospitals in different parts of GCC. Therefore, raising the awareness and talking about how do we really go about it to systematically diagnose these patients and systematically treat them and try to improve on the burden of this disease on our societies.
Establishing protocol for standards of care in the region and patient registry will assist in identifying the nature of cystic fibrosis in this part of the world as part of the conference outcome.
I'm the physician involved in responsible for cystic fibrosis in Europe and the Middle East, and we are more than happy to join the first Cystic Fibrosis Middle East conference. Very inspiring conference, a lot of knowledge, a lot of connections, and our objective here is to look for the new opportunities to bring inhaled antibiotics as well as inhaled levofloxacin, Quinzair, on the market in the Middle East.
Cystic fibrosis is clinically characterized by chronic airway infection and inflammation resulting in lung fibrosis and progressively loss of pulmonary function. The delegates who have specialized in this area to provide care for these patients have expressed their joy for getting to share their knowledge here, and this is what they have to say.
From France, I'm an anthropologist and I'm currently studying the situation of CF families in Palestine, occupied territories. I also have a 3-year-old boy who is half French, half Palestinian. And I'm very happy to be here at this conference to meet all worldwide specialists and doctors and all these nice organizing people.
From Bethlehem, Palestinian. I work as a pediatric physiotherapist in Caritas Baby Hospital. dealing with CF patients, and I really appreciate very much being here in Oman together to build bridges between countries of the Middle East.
I am invited to this first Middle East Cystic Fibrosis Conference. I am a cystic fibrosis nurse specialist, and I am here for the Allied Health Program to talk to the nurses about what cystic fibrosis and nursing involves. And I'm very grateful to be here for this invitation and to meet all these wonderful people who want to take care in the best way of their CF child.
I'm a junior medical student, and being a medical student and participating in such a conference, it's a great opportunity for me to develop my future career and to develop my communication skills. And I would like to thank everybody who participated in this conference.
I'm from Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. I'm doing my internship in Oman. It was a great pleasure to meet people from different countries and to gain knowledge from different perspectives, all of them dealing with cystic fibrosis patients.
I'm a pediatric resident, so as a pediatric resident, it was a very wonderful opportunity to learn from all the international speakers and the Allied Health Program that we had in the conference about the cystic fibrosis, and that eventually helped me in gaining more knowledge and knowing all the updates about the cystic fibrosis and the management of the cystic fibrosis for our patients. And as an Omani, it was a very pleasant experience and great pleasure to meet all of these people from all around the world in such an international conference.
Abdullah bin Ahmed al-Rubi'i, Sultanate of Oman Television, Muscat.
Iran is to deploy missiles for a Revolutionary Guards exercise today, in a show of defiance a day after the United States imposed sanctions over ballistic missile tests launched last week. Relations between Washington and Tehran have deteriorated sharply since Donald Trump took office last month, promising a tough line on what he sees as Iran's belligerence towards U.S. interests and allies. Hours after the new U.S. sanctions were announced, the Pentagon chief, James Mattis, charged that Iran was the single biggest state sponsor of terrorism in the world. The new sanctions are the first of Trump's presidency and target what U.S. officials say is Iran's weapon procurement network in Lebanon and China. US-backed Kurdish and Arab fighters announced today a new phase in their campaign for the Daesh group's Syrian stronghold of Raqqa, but said they need more weapons to win. The Syrian Democratic Forces launched their campaign to capture the city last November and have taken some ground further up the Euphrates Valley, but are still some distance away. The SDF announced the beginning of the third phase to liberate Raqqa and its surroundings, which will target the eastern part of the province, spokeswoman Jihan Sheikh Ahmed said. The coalition has carried out the airstrikes against Daesh group in Syria and Iraq since 2014. Washington has dispatched about 500 troops, including bomb disposal experts, trainers, and special operation troops, to support the SDF's campaign. Yemen's tribesmen today killed 13 al-Qaeda fighters who had slipped back into the southern town hours after pulling out in the face of street protests. A security official said the rebels had re-emerged during the night and sought to take control of public buildings in the Abayan province town of Lodar. The officials said they met with fierce resistance from armed residents and withdrew after gun battles lasting 2 hours. Lodar was one of 3 towns in Abayan province that al-Qaeda fighters entered on Thursday. They withdrew from 2 of them yesterday in the face of warnings of resistance from local tribes. U.S. Defense Secretary Jim Mattis today played down any need for major U.S. military moves in the South China Sea to contend with China's assertive behavior. Even as he sharply criticized Beijing for shredding the trust of nations in the region, Mattis told a joint news conference with his Japanese counterpart, Tom Ominada, after a bilateral defense minister meeting in Tokyo, that at this time they do not see any need for dramatic military moves at all, and the focus should be on diplomacy. U.S. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson had said in his Senate confirmation hearing that China should not be allowed to access to islands it has built in the contested South China Sea. The White House also vowed to defend international territories, in the strategic waterway. China claims most of the South China Sea, while Taiwan, Malaysia, Vietnam and the Philippines and Brunei claim parts of the waters that command strategic sea lanes and have rich fishing grounds along with oil and gas deposits. Border controls and migration are hot political issues in France, with asylum seekers at the heart of the debate between solidarity and the letter of the law. French olive farmer Cédric Houré was recently convicted of driving migrants across the Italian border under the nose of French police. He is one of many people in the area providing illegal assistance to migrants and is unapologetic about his actions. Here is a report.
This modest olive farm in rural southern France barely stands out from the wooded hillsides. But for the young migrants camped out here, it's a rare safe haven on a perilous journey.
There's legal assistance, food assistance, clothing assistance, because we have clothes. With Doctors of the World, we provide medical help, and we advise and reassure them.
Cédric Héroux owns this farm and regularly puts up asylum seekers here, sometimes after helping them cross the Italian border. Most of them say they are minors, some waiting to be taken in by social services, while others continue their journey north.
Cédric is good. It's good at his place. We came by the train route. It's very hard, very risky.
But the 37-year-old's actions have riled up authorities as they try to enforce border controls reinstated after the terror attacks on French soil. Héroux has already been arrested 3 times and is currently awaiting a verdict.
I'm not sure I'm breaking the law. I'm helping people who are suffering, and what's more important? Isn't the right to human dignity more important than the fact of giving someone a ride in your car? I think it is.
Critics say Héroux is using his arrest and trial to force a critique of national immigration policy. And many question the wisdom of undermining border control at a time when national security is at the forefront of France's policies. But with a steady stream of people venturing through their valley, local residents are increasingly compelled to step in, with several sanctioned for providing assistance in recent months. And Héroux's outspoken defiance has largely garnered him support.
You can't say he's being irresponsible. He's human, that's all. You can only support him in what he's doing.
Though he has no intention of changing his ways, Héroux is realistic about the consequences he could face.
I think I'll probably end up in jail. If I get a suspended sentence, then I'll end up in jail, and after that I hope it won't be for too long. If I get a couple of weeks, that's fine. I hope I don't get more than that. We'll see. I have no idea what's going to happen.
With a sentence due on February 10th, Héroux will soon get his answer. But a solution to the migrant crisis is proving far more elusive.
And now for the general weather forecast around the Sultanate. Clear skies will prevail over the northern governorates with chances of scattered rains. The rest of the Sultanate will have clear to partly cloudy skies with chances of scattered rains. Winds will be northwesterly light to moderate. Seas will be slight with a maximum wave height of 3 meters. This is the Sultanate of Oman television. Before we end tonight's bulletin, here are the main points once again. As a result of the trough of low-pressure system, the Niaba of Ras Al Had witnesses rough seas and high waves, and a number of the Sultanate's other areas experience decline in temperatures. The United States imposes new sanctions on Iran, and Iran reacts by holding military exercises. The US-backed Kurdish and Arab fighters announce a new phase in their fight against the Daesh group in Syria. With that, we come to the end of tonight's news bulletin. From all of us here at the newsroom and the studio, it's good night.